When I'm planning to visit a new city and if there's a Premier Inn, I normally just book it if it's in a good location because I know exactly what to expect. I was in Stuttgart for 2 days, so for 2 nights, this costed €130 for two. There's several Premier Inn hotels in Stuttgart. This one I booked was near the train station. It also has parking if you're planning to drive there. The first activity was visiting the market hall. I'm always interested to check out market halls in Germany after seeing the one in Frankfurt. So I was really interested to see this one in Stuttgart. And I could be wrong, but this one, the food section seemed a bit smaller than the one in Frankfurt. Inside this market, you will find everything from local fresh produce, so things like German cheeses, bread, spices from around the world, seafood, pastries, and they even have a section for furniture.
Andrea, io vado a fare un giro. Mi fai un po' di... Che buona spada negra oggi. La spada negra è buona oggi. Bellissima.
This market is not as busy as I expected it to be. The one in Frankfurt was so busy when I visited, so I was expecting this one to be really busy as well. This market hall was opened in 1914 and apparently this building was almost demolished in the 1970s. This is because it was considered uneconomical, but the city voted to save it by just 1 vote. I would say this market hall is a good idea if you want a quick snack. I mean, even if you want restaurant food, some stores have a restaurant set up. And I think if you're not planning on buying anything, it's still worth just to go and look around. It's one of those places where locals go to and you get a real taste of Stuttgart. We stopped in this other store to get some sandwiches. They look beautiful. Taste-wise though, they were okay. I think maybe they stayed too long on display.
There's some nougat.
These types of places are like a reminder of how people used to shop before supermarkets became a thing. You know, buying bread from the baker, meat from the butcher, and cheese from the cheesemonger. With supermarkets, we don't really get the opportunity to speak directly to the people behind the products. Here, you can talk directly to the traders, ask questions, and enjoy a much more personal shopping experience. If you're wondering if they can speak English, some people did, some people did not. But if you can't speak Dutch, of course you'll be able to speak to all of them. I also tried out this vegan sandwich from one of the stores. It was okay. So the ground floor of the market is mainly food, and the first floor is more about homeware, furniture, and kitchen accessories. So yeah, it does kind of feel like a department store. So yeah, in this market, it's not just about buying fresh produce. You can find some unique home items, clothes, and gifts that you probably wouldn't see in typical shopping centers. The next activity was the Mercedes-Benz Museum. It's one of Stuttgart's biggest attractions. To enter inside the museum, you need to take a lift or elevator to the top floor. This is because the tour actually starts from the top. And when I saw the lift, I felt like I've done some kind of time travel. It just looks so futuristic. You get this audio guide and it gives you information as you walk around the museum. This way, you don't need to join a group and you move at your own pace. It's also available in 7 other languages. As I said, the tour starts from the top, then you walk down the museum. Instead of choosing floor by floor, you walk down in a continuous spiral and it feels like you're traveling through time. This is also reflected in the way the cars are displayed. They start with the oldest models to the newest. You can't really take any shortcuts to other levels, so the only thing you can do is rush through certain parts. The tour starts with the birth of the automobile in 1886, and it follows the history of Mercedes-Benz chronologically. So along the way, you'll see how the company evolved through different eras. So the story of Mercedes-Benz began with Karl Benz. Benz is such a cool last name though. Basically, in 1886, he patented what's widely regarded as the world's first practical automobile, the Benz patent Motorwagen. That's why he's often referred to as the father of the automobile. The Motorwagen only had 3 wheels and was powered by a single-cylinder engine. And at the time, many people thought the idea of having a car without horses was impossible. Karl Benz's wife, Bertha Benz, played a huge role in proving him right. In 1888, she made the world's first long-distance car journey without telling her husband, showing that the car wasn't just an experiment and could actually be used for everyday travel. Apparently, she was on the journey with her 2 sons, and she traveled for 106 kilometers, going at a record-breaking 10 kilometers per hour. Of course, she had to stop for fuel and repairs, but she did manage to drive all of those 106 kilometers. Now, if you're wondering, how did people already know that she made the journey? Well, a lot of people witnessed it, and as I said, she also made stops for fuel at pharmacies. They didn't have fuel for cars then. They used Ligroin. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but you could only get it at pharmacies then. It was basically a cleaning solvent. So yeah, that's how new the concept of a car was. They didn't even have filling stations. The pharmacies were the filling stations. So Karl Benz invented the first practical gasoline-powered car, but the engine was very simple. It had just 1 cylinder and it produced less than 1 horsepower. Over the decades, engineers made engines more powerful by adding more cylinders, increasing efficiency, and introducing other technologies. So while today's Mercedes engines are incredibly advanced, they're all built on the same basic principle that Karl Benz helped pioneer. Before visiting this museum, I had no idea just how much Mercedes-Benz contributed to the modern cars. I knew it's a famous car brand, but I didn't realize that Karl Benz and the company were behind so many innovations that shaped the cars we drive today. As you walk through the museum, you can actually see the evolution of the automobile, from the first practical car to many technologies that later became the standard across the industry. It completely changed the way I look at Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz has built so much over the years: buses, trucks, racing cars, and even engines for aircrafts. It really shows you how deeply the company has been involved in the history of transportation.
Polizei.
I've actually only seen some of these car models in movies. For decades, Mercedes cars have been chosen by heads of states, popes, emergency services, and other official institutions. When some of the world's most high-profile organizations need a vehicle that's safe, reliable, and prestigious, usually they just turn to Mercedes-Benz. And this museum showed me exactly why. In total, this museum has 160 vehicles on display and more than 1,500 exhibits spread across 9 floors, making it one of the world's largest and most comprehensive automotive museums. This area was my favorite part of the museum. I just loved the way the cars were displayed. The museum was busy but not overcrowded. There were a lot of people, but I still had enough space to look at the exhibits properly, and I didn't feel rushed. I think the layout also helped spread out people, so even on a busy day, I saw a lot of people enter the museum, but it didn't feel like there were a lot of people inside the museum. This museum is so big, and I had about 3 hours to see it, but that wasn't enough. If I was to recommend to anybody, I would give it half a day. And it's one of those museums I definitely would visit again. It's really amazing. And if you visit Stuttgart, this is something you cannot miss. The good thing is that I think all ages can enjoy this. And for someone like me who doesn't even care about cars, I also really enjoyed it. And I can't believe I never really knew about this museum until a few months ago. And it's been open since 2006. And if you're planning on visiting this museum, just be aware that it's only opened from Tuesdays to Sundays, and it's closed on Mondays. So if you're planning on visiting, just make sure you plan your days around the opening days. Also, I cannot imagine the maintenance cost for this museum. The entry fee is only 16 euros per person. Kids under 12, it's free. And for teenagers, they get a discount. So yeah, that was the museum, so I highly recommend it. I think it's good enough for you to visit Stuttgart. And on top of that, they also have the Porsche Museum, which I'll show you later on in the video. Before leaving, I had to look around the museum shop. It's much bigger than I expected it. It's got everything from affordable souvenirs to detailed model cars to premium Mercedes-Benz merch. So even if you're not planning on buying anything, it's still worth to go in and look around. Another thing actually is that you're also given the lanyard that connects to the audio guide as a souvenir. So if you don't buy anything, you'll still end up with a souvenir. Another thing I really liked about this shop is that it did have the variety of merch. So it wasn't just the car models, it had the t-shirts, the mugs, the caps. And of course, if you do collect car models, you will have a lot of options here. But for people that don't, you also have the other options where you can just get a t-shirt or something like that. And my last tip is to actually wear comfortable shoes because you would need to do a lot of walking around the museum. After the museum, we went to the town center of Stuttgart. It has a lot of green spaces actually. And they also have Königsstraße, which is one of Germany's busiest shopping streets. It stretches for over a kilometer through the city center and is lined up with shops and cafes. The city center was a lot bigger than I expected actually, and this is Schlossplatz. This is the main square in Stuttgart. It's actually near the market hall. And this square is a good place to just chill and enjoy the Stuttgart atmosphere. So apparently big events also happen here, like Christmas markets, and German Christmas markets are usually top tier. Stuttgart is the capital of Baden Wurttemberg, and this building is called the New Palace. It was built in the 18th century as home of the rulers of Württemberg. They wanted a palace that reflected their wealth and power. It does look a lot like the Palace of Versailles in France, actually. And this monument in the middle of Schlossplatz is called the Jubilee Column. It was built in 1841 to celebrate the 25th anniversary of King Wilhelm I of Württemberg's reign. Basically, the people of Württemberg commissioned it as tribute to their king. The palace now houses several ministries of Baden Wurttemberg state, so it's mainly used for government administration rather than a tourist attraction. Near the square, we tried out this cafe called Martha's, and we got some pastrami sandwiches. For me, the taste was okay, but my partner did love them. I also got a brownie and some hot chocolate. Now, this was good. And this restaurant, we actually went here twice. It was right next to the Premier Inn hotel we booked. It's called Hans im Glück. I ordered a chicken burger and my partner got a beef burger with avocado. This was the best food I had in Stuttgart. That's why we went back the second time. I don't even like burgers like that, but these were really good.
Now turn slight left and then immediately turn slight left.
The next activity was visiting the Porsche Museum. So yeah, Stuttgart isn't just home of Mercedes-Benz, it's also home to Porsche, making it one of the best cities for people who love cars. I think most English speakers call the brand Porsche, but the German way is Porsche, so I'll be saying it the German way.
Now turn slight left and then immediately go straight. Now go straight.
Just like the Mercedes-Benz Museum, you also get an audio guide. This way you have information about the exhibits as you walk around the museum.
Wie lange muss die Kamera hier stehen?
Ich richte nur ein, das Foto geht sehr schnell nachher.
Ach so.
Rumstehen und versuchen, das Bild einzurichten. Das ist ein bisschen aufwendig.
This museum focuses more on Porsche sports cars and racing heritage. The museum typically has more than 80 cars on display, but the exact number changes because they tend to rotate the vehicles from their collection, and they have a collection of over 700 cars, so every visit might look different. And apparently, many of the cars on display are actually rare prototypes and concept cars that most people would never see elsewhere. So, how did Porsche begin? Well, it started with Ferdinand Porsche, an Austrian engineer. Before he ever built a Porsche car, he actually designed cars for other companies. And he even created one of the world's first hybrid electric vehicles around 1900. In 1931, he founded his own engineering company in Stuttgart. Basically, at first, the company didn't make its own cars, it designed cars and engines for other manufacturers. One of Ferdinand Porsche's biggest projects was actually designing the Volkswagen Beetle. It was meant to be an affordable people's car, and it went on to become what it is today. After World War II, Ferdinand was imprisoned for nearly 2 years in France. This was on suspicion of war-related collaboration. He was never brought to trial though. And during this time, his son Ferry, he decided that the company should build its own sports car. And in 1948, Ferry introduced the first Porsche, the Porsche 356. It was lightweight, simple, and fun to drive. Many parts of the car were based on the Volkswagen components. The car became a success, and it established Porsche as a sports car manufacturer. And in 1963, Porsche launched the Porsche 911. More than 60 years later, it's still in production, making it one of the longest running sports car designs ever. Basically, with the 911 model, rather than replacing it with new designs, they just constantly refine the same basic concept. This museum also lets you interact with the exhibits instead of just reading information. You can drive a Porsche with a simulator, and you can even hear and mix the sounds of different Porsche engines. It's a fun way to learn about the brand rather than just looking at the cars. So the museum's been open since 2009, but it still feels very new. The ticket prices are €12 per person, for students it's €6, and it's free for children under 14. Just like the Mercedes-Benz Museum, it's also closed on Mondays. So if you're planning on visiting, just make sure you make note of that. It's amazing that one city has both the Mercedes-Benz Museum and the Porsche Museum. And if you're planning to visit both, I would actually recommend starting with the Porsche than the Mercedes-Benz Museum, just because the Mercedes-Benz is much bigger and it covers much more. And for the Porsche Museum, I would recommend just 2 hours. They have this museum shop for souvenirs, and actually when you're returning the audio guide, they also give you the lanyard that connects to it. So it's given as a souvenir. For dinner, we went to this restaurant. It's also near the Premier Inn Hotel. We got some pasta and it was actually decent. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.